All right, if you're thinking about buying a home in Tampa Bay, then this video is for you because I'm going to go over everything from flood zones to traffic to buying on the coast to navigating insurance, new construction versus resale, everything, school zones. We're going over it all, and we're not going to hold anything back. We're going to show you the exact websites you need to make your move easy. So stick till the very end of the video. I know it's in depth, I know it's long, but trust me, it's worth it. My name is Aaron, and me and my wife Aubrey are realtors here in the Tampa Bay area. And last year we helped over 40 families relocate and buy a home in the Tampa Bay area. If you are considering a move, we would love to earn your business. Our number is on the screen, and we would very much love to work with you. We work with all our clients one-on-one, and that's something that we pride ourselves in and something we cherish a lot. All right, let's start this video by getting just a good overview of the map here. So if you're moving to Tampa Bay, then more often than not, you're looking to be near the beach, be near the beaches. That is one of the main things to do here, and that's a big reason people move here. It's got a lot to do with the lifestyle, too, of not just being near the beach, but also just being along the coast unlocks just a lot of things to do in terms of boating and all that. So how do we help explain and navigate the coast? Really, this is what I would say. Clearwater Beach, we all know, and this is one of the top beaches, but it's also very, very touristy. Going south of Clearwater Beach, all along here is the sandy beaches that you see. But again, it's condos, it's hotels, it's restaurants, and not a lot of bridges to get off of here. So if you do want to be near the coast, this is something that's important to distinguish, is why do you want to be near the coast? If it is to be on the water, then there are plenty of options, and really you shouldn't limit yourself, because any options along the coast in Tampa Bay are going to be pretty good. Anyhow, if that's you, if coastal is what you want the coastal lifestyle, you want to be near the beach, but you're like, yes, I don't necessarily need to be in those areas, what option is good for me? Really, that's where I begin to ask people about, have you considered spots like Dunedin, Safety Harbor, Crystal Beach, Tarpon Springs, Gulfport. The next big thing I want to talk about is one nuance that a lot of people point out to me is how the prices shift dramatically, especially when you get past Fred Howard Park here, where really there are no now from here on, there's really no white beaches. You see some very, very tiny ones here, but they're really nothing to compare to like the Clearwater Beach area or anything like that. And so with that being said, this contributes to why the prices here are just so different. Now, pros with being on the water here. If being on the water is what's mostly important to you, and you're a boater and in the home and that, you get more bang for your buck out here along the coast for sure. And so that's a pro, because you can actually get unobstructed views of the Gulf, which is nice, and you can't get that. Like down here, if you're paying to have water access, you're really paying for that water access and just being in Tampa Bay. But you're not necessarily having the greatest view in the world if you're in some of these houses facing the peninsula here. Okay, with that being said, with buying on the water, definitely flood zones, flood insurance, and insurance are all going to be big factors. This is where being aware of the FEMA 50% rule, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about flood zones. And I'll also show you guys the exact flood zone tool you can use to just kind of keep it, be aware of what flood zone you're in. If you are buying along the coast, expect to be in a coastal flood zone because it is on the coast.
You're thinking about relocating to the Tampa Bay area, but you want to know what it's actually like living through the hurricanes that we experience here quite frequently. Hurricane Milton and Helene caused significant damage in the Tampa Bay. I am a Florida native, and 2024 by far was the worst year that I have experienced when it comes to hurricanes. If you want to know who you should listen to when hurricanes come around, if you move to this area, you should listen to Dennis Phillips. He is the local legend. He lives in Florida in the Tampa Bay area. And so rather than the fear mongering that you normally get on the news, he actually gives it to you straight, tells you the facts, gives you advice on what you should do, how you should prepare. And when he told me to board up my windows for the hurricanes that hit in 2024, let me tell you, I definitely boarded up my windows. Most people don't realize, but we actually had 3 hurricanes that kind of came through our area in 2024. We had Debbie that brought a lot of rain. We had Helene that brought bad storm surge, and then we had Milton that dropped a ton of rain all within 24 hours. And so those three hurricanes that happened back to back left our grounds oversaturated. So we actually ended up getting significant flooding, not only from the coastal floods, but also from the rainfall. And so that left a lot of people in a rough spot when it came to flooding, not only just the people by the coast, but also people who were miles inland. I live on a lake, and I actually had coastal flooding come to my lake even though I'm miles inland. And what happened was, because all of the rain and all of the storm surge, it filled up all of our rivers, all of our groundwater, everywhere was full of water. So when Milton dropped all of that rain, it actually made my lake rise very high, and I was very nervous that it was going to come into my house. Luckily, it stopped and receded before it actually made it to my house, but most people unfortunately did not get as lucky as we did. Some of our neighbors in our neighborhood actually did get some flooding from the lake. 2024 was an unusual year. Normally, Tampa Bay fares reasonably well when it comes to hurricanes. We actually haven't had a direct hit in over 100 years. The last one that hit, I believe, was in 1921, and it hit around the Tarpon Springs area. So when it comes to the path of the hurricane, Tampa Bay has fared relatively well. And most of the time, when you are farther inland and you're not experiencing the coastal flooding, your house will fare very well. So that's something to keep in mind. If you are concerned mostly about the flooding, if you move more inland, you should be relatively safe. 2024 was just an off year. That does not happen very frequently at all. So that's something definitely to keep in mind.
Okay, real quick, I want to show you the most important thing when it comes to flood zones, and I've got the Pinellas County flood zone map pulled up, and definitely reach out to us. I'll put the one for the Pasco County and the Hillsborough County in the description, as well as this Pinellas County one. But really the main thing you want to look at when looking at these flood zone maps, which isn't all that clear, is it's not so much about being away from the coast. And I'll show you that by showing you guys Countryside Clearwater. And so I'm going to zoom out a bit. So you got Tampa Bay here, and we're going to zoom in on Countryside Clearwater, which you would think would be an area that would flood a lot with it being right near the coast. But actually, if we pull up the elevation map, Countryside Clearwater is one of the highest points in all of Tampa Bay. And this really, if you're worried about coastal flooding from hurricanes, what is the area that's guaranteed to be the safest to avoid that, then it's really going to be the highest area you can find, which is going to be Countryside. Okay, so here's something interesting to also look at. So I've talked about how Countryside is really high, and look at how quickly that happens. Like, you get out of the 25-year floodplain super quick, even just in Safety Harbor. So even these homes here that are like right near Philippi Park, right near the water, are actually, from a flood perspective, significantly safer than even like some of these in Oldsmar that are way further inland that are still in that coastal floodplain. So elevation plays a big factor, and I say that because the Oldsmar area in general is a lot lower. So definitely check out this map. If you guys need any help using it or have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to us. Okay, I hope that was super helpful, but I know it can be confusing navigating these questions and these concerns. So again, I want to throw up my number on the screen. Whether you are renting, whether you are buying, no matter what it is, if you are looking to relocate to the Tampa Bay area and you have questions or want to get in touch with someone, want to get a local's opinion on it, please reach out to us. I'll throw my number up on the screen. Definitely subscribe to this channel. We're putting out these videos every week, and we're really looking to see what type of resources and what type of information you guys are looking to hear on. So let us know what you like or dislike about the channel. And yeah, I'll carry on with the video. All right, next spot I want to talk about is the established suburbs. And this is really going to be for the folks where house is a priority, schools are a priority, a commute. You're thinking, how long is my commute? How close are things to do? Is the lifestyle near and around my home and my neighborhood good? Am I moving to a good neighborhood? That's where these things matter. And typically, these are folks that are fully relocating to the Tampa Bay area. They're moving here with their family, with their kids. And they don't want to mess this up. They want to get this right. And there are a lot of moving pieces. And the good news is there are a ton of options for every really type of lifestyle, whether it be Palm Harbor, Westchase, or Starkey. Like, there are really, really good options. And I say established suburbs because this is really, I want to differentiate between this and new construction. New construction we're gonna talk about that separately. These are gonna be areas where you really can find all the houses you can find anywhere else in the States. You can find that. You can find a pool. We're talking 4-bedroom, 3-bath homes, 2,000, 2,500 square feet plus. Like, whatever your preferences are, we can work with those if we're going more established suburbs, because really there are a lot of options. Most of Tampa Bay is going to fit in here, but here really the questions begin. I start to ask, like, what is important to you? Is being near the coast important to you? Is being in a certain school district important to you? Are we trying to be near a certain spot for a job? Once we know those things, though, we just can find 1 or 2 established suburbs that will work well near you. What I mean by, like, there's a lot of good options for a lot of different types of people is, like, for instance, the reason people love Westchase is because it's halfway between Tampa and halfway between Clearwater, and you kind of feel like that in between of, yeah, you're getting all the best parts of the Clearwater, Dunedin area, and you're getting all the best parts of the Tampa area. You have to deal with the bridge. You kind of it's kind of nice being up here by Westchase, and you can go north, and you're just kind of great location. Like, I'd say top, honestly, the best location if you want to be near everything. You're near the airport too, and so that's what people love about Westchase. Palm Harbor, on the other hand, you see people choosing Palm Harbor because of Palm Harbor University High School. And then with Palm Harbor, it even gets even more nuanced, because with Palm Harbor, there's not necessarily a set specific neighborhood that I would highlight, but where I would highlight here is west side of 19 versus east side of 19. That's really the main question you want to ask yourself with Palm Harbor, because on the west side, you're really getting more of that coastal lifestyle. On the east side, I don't know, something about having to cross just the busy 19 is just makes it so that going to the beach just sounds so much further when you're on the east side. And then being on the west side, I mean, you can, like, realistically bicycle to the Pinellas Trail. There you can golf cart a lot of these places. So it is way quicker getting to the beach. Driving along alternate 19 and, like, having the coast on one side just feels quicker when you're going to the beach for some reason. Anyhow, there's a lot of nuances, but tons of good options both in Pinellas County, in Pasco County, in Hillsborough County, over in places like FishHawk, which are older master plan communities that have, like, amazing amenities. Like FishHawk specifically, their pool is insane. I wonder if I can even pop in here and just show you guys a bit of their pool. Okay, their pool is just insane. I wish I could show you. You can kind of see it from here, but they literally have a slide in their pool.
Where does Florida sit when it comes to affordability and cost of living? Florida sits just below the national average, but we do have some inflated costs such as car insurance and homeowners insurance. Obviously, we have hurricanes that come very frequently, and so just like homes get flooded, cars also get flooded. But the nice thing is we do get a good amount of notice before a hurricane does hit. So if we are going to have flooding, there is time for you to move your car to a location that's higher up to avoid that flooding. Another reason why the car insurance rates are higher is because you will notice when you get here, Florida has really bad drivers, unfortunately. We see so many car accidents, especially on places that experience heavy traffic like I-275 and I-4. You'll notice even Tampa proper has higher insurance rates than somewhere like St. Pete on average. That's something to keep in mind. Also, when it comes to homeowners insurance, that's a little bit more nuanced. There are higher rates here because we are a high-risk state, but you also need to keep in mind that Some places are going to have cheaper insurance, some places are going to have more expensive insurance. I'm in a flood zone. As you can see, I have a lake behind me and I'm in flood zone AE, but my insurance for flooding is relatively low. I only pay $800 a year for my flood insurance, where somewhere near the beach, if it's a single story, they'll probably be paying a significant amount more because they will probably experience flooding more likely than I will. Also, if you're looking at new construction tends to have good insurance rates because everything's new and up to code. They're not worried about that home as much as they would be an old home that's in a flood zone. It can be very nuanced, but do realize that Florida does have higher insurance rates than most other places in the nation. Let's talk about housing. Housing is actually 12% below the national average. We have houses that fit a lot of people's budgets, so that's a nice thing. Plus, our rent is slightly at the national average. It can be more expensive if you're living in the city itself for rent and also for buying houses, but if you're in the suburbs and you're kind of away from all of the action, you will be able to find very good home prices and rental prices while not being too far away from all of the places that you want to be around. That's definitely a big pro.
All right, the next spot I want to talk about is new construction. Really, when we're talking about new construction communities, this can get very, very tricky because it's not often clear what's what. And here's what I mean about it. Like, I'm just going to draw a quick radius map around here around Wesley Chapel, and we're just going to look at a quick little experiment here. We're going to look at some of these homes. Here, let's look at this one. So this D.R. Horton home, okay, great. $329. Awesome. If I jump up, right? If I jump up to the 480, or let's go even higher. Let's go 536. Let's go to this home. Okay. But this one, all right. Again, like, looks very, very similar to that one. Here's what. This looks extremely similar to that one we just looked at. It's just a computer-generated image. So understanding the differences between the prices of the builders is where new construction gets so incredibly tricky. And I wish I had an easy answer for you guys, but really what it is just studying the builders and getting to know which ones and what you're getting. There is a answer to the reason the price is different. It is to do with just the quality of home you're getting, differences between higher ceilings. It comes down to more than just square footage. And so there's a lot of nuances there. Really, the best advice I could give when it comes to navigating new construction is use tools like New Home Source and try and identify which builders you like. And you can even go down the line. What I like about it is there's a way I think to get it to actually highlight the biggest communities to the least biggest. But some of the biggest builders, I mean, I'm sure I'll make a bigger video about it. But like Lennar, for instance, you can click on them. You can go and like see kind of more about them, what homes they have. And so I like that, so you can read about each builder. But I really would read about each one because they are a lot of differences. And really the first thing you want to do is identify which communities you can get the home that matches your criteria. And then from there, which builders do you like? And then from there, okay, of the builders that you like, are they building in the communities that work? And from there, like then we narrow in on the home that works best for you. Now, one thing to keep in mind and why I say focus on communities and builders is because the models, they release the models, but they're going to build that model over and over again. So what you see right now, like what I see on the MLS as available homes, this is not actually what is really realistically in actuality available in the builder. If you go in and you talk to the builder, they've got future phases that is like you can't even read about on the internet. That's why my advice is narrow in on a builder in a community, because from there you can then talk. You can even visit the community because they're going to be building in that community for potentially years to come, and you might not even want to move or be ready to move for a couple years. So it's not too early to start to narrow in on these things, or even to see which builders you like, which builders, design the homes that fit your style. Those nuances are really only something you can navigate either boots on the ground or just by talking to us and asking us questions. but that's something that we'd love going over with you. So main things are Wesley Chapel is the main area where they're building. Yeah, you're going to see some builders build out to the west, like in Newport Corners. We have Lennar building out here, and really that's the main area though. Now down south, you are going to see around Waterset, like I do see a lot of folks building, like a lot of builders are building around Waterset, and we do have a lot of people moving there. But where we have more people moving is down to the Parrish area, and I'll talk about that in a bit. I want to talk about Waterset real quick. One thing I want to highlight about Waterset is it really is a kind of a unique, cool option. This whole area in and around here, south of Riverview and around Apollo Beach, is cool in the sense that you can get to Tampa pretty quick. You can also get to St. Pete pretty quick, and you're not too far from the beach, which is the main con with Wesley Chapel. Like, for instance, like over here, like where Epperson is and where Murata is, if I put in to go to, like, for instance, Honeymoon Island, which I think would be the closest beach, it's going to be a ways. It's going to be a ways. It's going to be like an hour or so. We'll see. Apparently my internet, man, that's got to be a con, is internet in Newport Richey, Florida, is not good. That's a con. Add that to the list. Anyhow, while that is going, let's continue. That's very, very annoying. So, moving further south, as we were talking, I was talking about Waterset, and I wanted to talk about Parrish because Parrish is a really, really cool option. A lot of people are moving to Parrish, and I think it is amazing. Parrish has what I wish Wesley Chapel had, which is it's near the water, it's near the coast, and it's near St. Pete, which I like St. Pete more than Tampa. Me and my wife, we like to go hang out in downtown St. Pete more than we like to hang out in downtown Tampa. We do like downtown Tampa, that being said. So Parrish, the reason I feel like so many people are choosing Parrish is because from a price perspective, you see a lot of the same builders are building here in Parrish. Here, I'm just going to switch back to this one so you can see. Okay, a lot of the same builders are building in Parrish, but what you don't have is the development, and we talked about that in another video. You don't have the crazy development that Wesley Chapel has, in the sense that Wesley Chapel has established itself as like almost an independent area where it doesn't even need Tampa really, because it has, you know, Epperson Lagoon, it has shops at Wiregrass, it has things like Pop Stroke nearby, and a lot of just development going in right in Wesley Chapel. You don't have that in Parrish, but what you're giving up in that you're getting in being really, really close to downtown St. Pete. Like realistically, you can be in a new construction home, 483, and let's just see how far this is from downtown St. Pete. Still going, man. You guys, I don't know what to tell you. You gotta do a new one, man. All right. Okay. 32 minutes. Like, that's pretty insane. Like, you definitely don't get that in Wesley Chapel, because in like Epperson, for example, yeah, that's 50 minutes. So it's a good ways. But, you know, with traffic and stuff, it's more like an hour 30, really. So what time is it? Like 7 p.m.? Anyhow, this is still going, but I'm just going to do it from here. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, an hour, 8 minutes. So, you know, you're an hour, 8 minutes from the beach, whereas back in over here, we were, let's see, what would be the closest beach? Probably St. Pete Beach. 35 minutes from the beach. So, you know, the fact that you can be in a new construction home for, well, that one was 400 something, 483, you know, is 38 minutes to the beach is great. Now, the nice thing about new construction, this is for really people who want the least stressful option. They've got good rate incentives. You don't have to deal with all that negotiation stress. If you find something wrong with the home, which definitely get an inspection, because here's the best part. If you find something wrong with the home, you just show the builder, hey, builder, you did this wrong. And the builder goes, oh, yep, I'll fix it. And then they fix it. It's not like with a seller where, you know, it might be a 90-year-old lady who can't necessarily make those repairs. And so you don't necessarily have a choice but to make them, or your agent gets to make them, in which case is me, I guess, which is fun. I love that. But anyhow, so that's what new construction is for. The least stressful options, you got Parrish, you got Wesley Chapel, and then really you've got the whole area along 54 and 52, a lot of good options. Now, if you want new construction in and around kind of the more established Pinellas County and Hillsborough area, you got plenty more options, but you're leaning more towards on the custom, going in established neighborhoods. But the pros there is you can be in a new construction home and not have to deal with CDDs and HOAs. Okay, finally, I just want to talk about the downtown areas and who this is for. So this is really the last category, and this is if the urban downtown living of Tampa and St. Petersburg is what attracts you. Then really the main question you want to ask yourself is how car dependent do you want to be? If you're looking to be in Tampa, then being along areas like Water Street, along the Riverwalk, which goes way up here all the way to Armature Works. You've got Oxford Exchange over where is it? Right here, man. Where the heck? Right here, and which is again, this is a coffee shop that a lot of people really love. I love hanging out here. I think they have like a brewery too, or not a brewery, but like a wine bar or something. It's got a lot going on, but that's over here. Tons of people love to frequent that. It's along the Riverwalk, and then you've got spots like Hyde Park Village down here, where you got kind of a bit more of like a Miami feel to it. You got more luxury shopping, but all these areas, yes, this is all to do with like downtown Tampa's walkable areas, but these are all kind of spread out. The other spot you'll see a lot of people talk about is right here, like along Bayshore Boulevard. You see tons of people running along here, and really probably the walkable neighborhoods of downtown Tampa are going to be right here along Bayshore Boulevard, kind of hugging Hyde Park, right south of Oxford Exchange, and just kind of where you can go just across the bridge and be right on the Riverwalk and be right in Water Street. Now, I want to show you guys something that is pretty cool that really helps highlight why Tampa has grown the way it has grown. So this is Water Street, which on TikTok, a lot of people are talking about how this is a lot like Brickell, which I think it's got maybe a little bit more to go. But I do think it's cool that they got a Publix down here. I didn't know that until recently, and I just think that's cool because I love a city that is moving towards just being more walkable in general. And so why did I pull this up? Because I just want to show you guys how incredibly different it looks now versus like in 2018. Wait, let me pull like it 2017. Look at this. Oh man, you can't even 2019. Look at this. Nothing, almost nothing. Just barely started building. So this area has really only exploded in growth in the past 5-6 years, and so it's still very, very early. The best is yet to come for downtown Tampa, and don't even get me started on downtown St. Pete. Navigating downtown St. Pete and its walkability is really, really simple. I think it excels, and I think St. Pete is more walkable than Tampa in the sense that truly, I mean, realistically, you could totally live in St. Pete if you don't have to commute to work. If you work remotely, you could live in St. Pete and not need a car. And I say this because of how much the city has just built itself around Central Avenue. Main walkable neighborhoods, historic Kenwood, Crescent Lake, Old Northeast, the Edge District right down here around Tropicana Field, and spots like the Warehouse Art District are great. Now, I want to show you guys, like if I drop a pin here onto Central, yep, I'm on Central, you can just see how incredibly walkable it is. Like there is just restaurant after small business after person walking, which is what makes it so exciting. And this goes all the way down along Central Avenue, all the way to the pier, Vinoy Park. It's great. And what's also amazing about St. Pete is you have the Pinellas Trail, which is for sure the most famous biking trail in Tampa Bay, which starts from downtown St. Pete, goes all the way up to Dunedin and kind of along there. So you also have the Sunrunner, which goes from downtown St. Pete to St. Pete Beach. So you can realistically even get to the beach from downtown without needing a car. And so that's why people love St. Pete. It really does excel in its walkability, and it's part of the reason why renting in downtown St. Pete is higher than renting in downtown Tampa, even though buying in downtown St. Pete is not significantly, but lower than Tampa. Okay, if you watched till this point, then I hope this was helpful. Really, my goal is to make these videos as valuable as possible to people, getting them the actual information that helps them with that decision-making process. So if this was valuable to you, then subscribe for sure. Keeps us motivated, keeps me and Aubrey going. This is something that is relatively new, but something that we're really passionate about doing is helping folks that are looking to relocate. So I think that doing the YouTube channel and providing this information is a really cool way to help put out there how passionate we are about how tricky it can be to relocate. And anyhow, that's enough on that. But subscribe. We put these out every week, and we'll see you next week.